If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.
And we are back. Welcome back, Patriots, defenders of the truth. This is Survival Dispatch News podcast for May 21st, 2025. I'm Chris Heaven, the CEO of Survival Dispatch, coming to you from the front lines of the culture war, where we continue to stand firm for American values, Christian principles, and the constitutional rights of our founders that they secured with their blood and sacrifice. I'm joined today by my good friend, combat injured, Green Beret, and co-host tonight, Randy Nance. Randy, it is so good to see you.
Good to see you too, Chris. Jeff as well.
And we have our in-house CIA operative, Jeff MD, author extraordinaire, affectionately known as 007, with us as well. And every time I say it's good to see you, I can't help but think about Keith Richards stepping out on stage at the beginning of a Rolling Stones concert with a cigarette in his hand with a heater on it about this long. He walks up to the mic and he goes, "Good evening. It's good to see you." Then he goes, "Actually, it's good to see anybody." This always comes to mind. Anyway, what a time we're living in right now. I mean, we've got moral decay in our entertainment industry from top to bottom. I'd say it's in our government as well. And I think this Diddy trial is exposing it for all to see it. In my mind, you've got the Diddy trial is exposing Hollywood, and the Epstein stuff, if we ever get to see it, it would expose the political side of things. But we're going to talk about the Diddy stuff tonight because we've compiled a fair bit of information that's going to give you a really good snapshot of just how bad the entire situation is. So I'm going to forewarn you, today's coverage is not for the faint of heart. We're not going to show graphical stuff, but the descriptions of some of the things that happen are pretty ugly. But, we're committed to truth here. And I think all of us need to understand the evil that we're fighting against. So tonight's deep dive, Sean Diddy Combs, no BS, just what you need to know. Before we begin, I want to remind you that our Guardian membership promo on Substack ends this Friday. So it's regular $9.99 a month. It's on for $7.99 a month. Regular $95 a year. You get 2.5 months for free. It's on for $74.99 right now for an entire year. You get the 2.5 months free. You get access to exclusive content that the mainstream media doesn't want you to see. And there's other value adds. I'll talk a little bit more about it later on. But your membership is crucial in helping us to continue to bringing you unfiltered truth in these chaotic times. So with that being said, we've got 3 headline stories that I want to bring up, and we'll get to everybody's comments on this as well. So the first one is President Trump announcing the Golden Dome U.S. missile defense system. So this is being designed to protect America from foreign threats, and it's essentially an advanced missile shield that will incorporate all kinds of cutting-edge technology to intercept incoming missiles and secure our borders from aerial attacks. The Canadians have also asked to be included in this. But at the end of the day, this is going to make America safer than ever before. And in my mind, this is kind of maybe the culmination of Ronald Reagan's Star Wars initiative. So, Randy, since you're a combat veteran, I'd love to hear your input on the Golden Dome.
Well, when I hear him talk about it, I think to myself, because we're using the one example that it's successful is Israel. And I don't know, is Israel as big as Rhode Island? I know it's small. That's my point. It's very small. So I'm just wondering how we're going to scale something up like that to the size of our entire country. I don't know, but we don't know any details. So it's really hard to judge that. Like, will there be different zones for different population areas? You know what I mean? And then if you're going to try to include Canada, man, that's the whole continent. I mean, I don't know. To me, and we don't even know what all Ronald Reagan's Star Wars was, but to me, it seems like that's going to be kind of hard to do on this size or scale, certainly with the mileage we're talking about, to do the entire country. And that's without Canada. So I don't know. To me, I'm a bit skeptical. Do I think it would be cool? And can we do it? I don't know. You know, we don't know what all the technology we have. I just think it's going to be a difficult task to pull off that way.
I'm in total agreement with you, Randy. So, Jeff, I want to get your opinion as an engineer. So there's a number of reports out there that we have basically surveilled Chinese satellites that have been engaging in mock missions against each other to destroy each other, and they've come extremely close to our satellites. And there's not a lot of information, like Randy said, on this Golden Dome, but I did read somewhere that it would rely very heavily on satellite surveillance. And there's some like former reports from way back when from China that basically said if we take out the American satellites, it's game over for them because everything is guided by that. And I don't know if everything is or not, but curious to hear your thoughts on the practicality of this.
Yeah, when you're looking at something that is, the scale of a continent, you're going to have everything. You're going to have satellites, you're going to have Earth stations, everything else. Back in the day when we had an anti-ballistic missile system in the 50s and early 60s, it was only to stop Russian ICBMs coming over the poles. We had the Dew Line radar stations across northern Alaska and Canada, which is why Canada is involved. That's why they're part of NORAD. And they would, because the missiles fly over the poles, come in, and then we take them out. Our anti-missile missiles had nuclear warheads on them because that's the only way you could take out a full flight of incoming ICBMs with any kind of reliability is to use. We tapped off a nuke at high altitude. That doesn't do well for the electrical system here. So even if, assuming they wouldn't do that and they would have to have interceptors, every missile that goes up, you got to hit it. You can't miss one. And they all have multiple reentry vehicles. And then they have spoofs. They may launch 12 vehicles, 3 of which are real warheads, and the other 9 are decoys. And it's very hard to discern between a warhead and a decoy. So and then if they do something they fire off the coast from a submarine and it's a cruise missile, that's a totally different system. It's not a high altitude interception, that's a low altitude interception, and you need some sort of coastal radar system to be able to pick that up and then differentiate it from a small airplane. And then if their missiles are stealth coded, it's a huge technological leap. Would it be nice if we could do it? Yeah, sure. Is it something that's going to be done quickly? Hell no. If they give this stuff, it's going to be done in the next 10 years. Yeah, I wouldn't bank on that one.
So we got a couple assholes in the audience tonight, to be expected. We have covered rods of God many times and tungsten rods. They are not for missile defense. They're for hitting static targets. And if you knew what you were talking about, scabs, you'd have half a clue. But anyway, that's it. You're gone. See you later. And then the next one from Hostile MG Toe. What does this have to do with this channel? This is all about the survival of America and our culture. And I'm the CEO and owner of the company. And if you don't like it, too bad, so sad. You're gone too. Poof. All right, moving right along. That's how we deal with trolls here on Survival Dispatch. Not going to put up with that crap. All right, here we go. Megyn Kelly calls out Tapper for selling books about Biden's decline after he himself was helping the cover-up. Tapper, I don't think that's true. Megyn Kelly then rolls the tape. 1 minute, 16 seconds. This is good.
You covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seem to be running cover for the president. You didn't seem interested. Well, I mean, we'll start with the Laura Trump issue that you referred. Here it is. This happened in 2020.
Joe Biden, as we all know, has worked to overcome a stutter. How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You are
to
no
watch somebody on stage search for
that's so
questions.
amazing.
You're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were
stuttering.
mocking his
I had
stutter.
no idea, Joe
Yeah,
Biden.
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no
Jake.
standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel
Laura
sorry
Trump.
for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Laura Trump, thank you so much.
Do you want to apologize to Laura Trump now?
Randy, I'll go to you first.
Man, you know, look at him here on this part. He doesn't even look alive, man. You look at that face and them eyes. But then go back to that video. I mean, dude. And now he's going to write a book to profit off of this. It's almost.
I think
it's just like the Russian hoax, right? It's just like the Russian hoax. Then we have people that won. What is the awards for the press? People that won those awards and got paid for them for the Russian hoax. And as it turns out to be a hoax now, and no one took those awards back. They didn't even retract it.
Right.
This guy's doing the same thing. Now he's going to profit on it because he knew. He knew.
This is Joseph Goebbels in 1946 coming forward to say, you know what? It turns out Hitler was crazy after all.
Yeah, it's too much. Do you want to take another swing at it, Jeff?
Well, no, I mean, she's calling him out. Good on her for that. Someone needs to, they basically set fire to their reputations if they even had any left before. But to come out and basically says, wow, look what we discovered. You didn't discover anything. It's like, look what you've been covering up for the last 5 years. Yeah, these people are just shameless, and they're just hacks. And I
don't know why they think they have any credibility left.
Ratings are going down, and he may get fired soon, or CNN may end up going out of business, so he's got to try and line his pockets while he can.
Yeah, I agree with Randy, too. They have zero credibility. I used to say best case scenario, legacy media was infotainment. Worst case scenario, it was propaganda-tainment. It's all propaganda now. It's all just lies. It's all
filth and trash.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next one up, speaking of trash. So this is Nashville State Representative Afton Ben, and she posted a 15-minute video of her and her friend stalking the Tennessee Highway Patrol as they carried out official duties, openly admitting they were trying to stall law enforcement from stopping illegal aliens, and essentially this video is her describing everything that they're doing to interfere with the highway patrol officers as they're trying to enforce immigration laws. And she, proudly records herself and puts it out there on X and openly admitted to what she's doing. I would imagine if this gets as high as Tom Homan, that he'll have something to say about it. But it's 2 minutes and 3 seconds in this video. I'm not going to play the whole 2 minutes and 3 seconds. It's hard to take. But I'm going to play enough that y'all can get the gist of it. These people are traitors to our country. There's no other way to put it.
Okay, this is great. We've got our girl squad, and we're bullying the ICE vehicles and state troopers. So this is a win.
Your favorite blonde state rep. Her phone's always at 1%. I think my superlative is most likely to always have her phone at 1%. So, no, I'm still here. Okay, so we're waiting for my phone to charge. Let me send this to Emily and the girl. There we go. Okay. Did he let them go? Oh, people.
Us?
Yeah, I think we were arrested.
My
life cut out. Yeah, well, it's because your girl can't keep her phone charged. So they're probably running our information. Nikki, tell us what's transpired tonight.
So we found the ICE and the THP people. I did not put makeup on because this was not
Okay, then I'll put it back.
No, I mean, it's fine.
Okay.
I've already seen it.
Okay.
We found the ICE and the THP people, and then we followed them to the gas station, and I took their spot at the gas station. So I think that made them a little upset. And then I tried to go in the gas station, go to the bathroom, but the gas station people would not let me go, even though I told them I really had to. And then when I got out, they were leaving, so I left too. and then they pulled into another parking lot. And when I pulled into the other parking lot behind them, then they flicked their lights to pull us over and accused me of running a red light.
So I'm going to stop it there. Somebody made a comment on one of our chats, Randy. This is pretty funny. And they pointed out how all of these people always have like blue or purple or pink hair like she does, that pink ponytail. And whoever it was that made the comment, they said, maybe RFK Jr. will ban the hair dye too, because it keeps turning women into fat lesbians who don't know what they're talking about. It was probably, I'm not saying it was Velcro, but it's something that Velcro would say. Anyways,
it does sound very Velcro-ish.
It does. Randy,
Well,
your thoughts on these people obstructing?
Yeah. So one of them's an elected official, correct?
The blonde one, yes.
It's crazy. I mean, how, it's like you have no life here, but here you have an elected official job and they're posting that this is cool. I mean, I don't know. Is she going to get arrested? Because clearly that they're trying to, they're interfering in official business and government work. And, they're trying to hinder that and go against what actually, I guess, what the president's put out, what we're going to do now as far as immigration policy and getting these folks out of the country that were illegally allowed to come in. And people like her out there trying to stop that. And, until we hold them accountable, they're going to keep doing it. People like this will keep doing that. It was even sad. They got to go over Mrs. Pink hair, but she needed to go to the bathroom and they wouldn't let her no matter how bad. And then she finally got to go and come out. I don't know if you think that's a good, if you think that's a good use of your time and to post into your public and no one does anything about it, well, shame on Nashville or wherever they're from.
Well, I think that they do these things because there's been no consequences.
That's right.
So now they think they can just do whatever the heck that they want, including breaking the law. What happens if they prevent law enforcement from apprehending somebody who's a dangerous criminal here illegally, and then they go on to kill an innocent girl like Lake and Riley or the others? They've got blood on their hands in that. I mean, this is just...
Well, that could happen at the next stop. Heck, they could get the cops and themselves killed at the very next stop by interfering.
Yeah, the crazies reached a whole new level. Jeff, your thoughts?
Well, I just like it when they basically confess to their crimes on videotape.
That's right.
Makes the indictment process so much easier. We didn't do that. Well, okay, here is you on film that you posted saying this is what you're doing. It's like O.J. Simpson, if I did it.
That's right. That's right.
Y'all get a kick out of this. So, I've got half a dozen monitors around me here. This is what mission control looks like from one side. And this is what mission control looks like from, the camera's not quite right. There's more stuff going on over there. But anyway, YouTube is doing CommieTube routine again. So Michael put a comment in the live chat that says she looks like a man. And it's been held for review because you might not want to show it on your channel. So we're going to show that one. And then they caught him again because he said they both look like men. Of course, we're going to allow that. The thing I wonder about is that's what we see. What are the comments that people make that we don't even see or have a chance to do anything about, right? Like it just, anyway, CommieTube doing CommieTube things. All right. So that's it for headline news. We're going to get into the main subject here. And this is going to take a minute to read. I'll go as fast as I can, but it's the 30,000 foot view. So the federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs began on May 12th. So not that long ago in Manhattan, New York. It's ongoing. It's expected to last approximately 8 weeks. So the charges and the plea basically are Diddy is 55 years old. He's got 5 criminal counts, 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. If he's convicted, he's going to face life in prison. He's pled not guilty to all charges and denied all allegations, with his defense arguing that his actions were part of consensual swinger lifestyle rather than criminal behavior. So some key testimony up until now, and this is where it gets a little bit longer. Again, I'll go through as fast as I can. Cassie Ventura, which is his girlfriend for years, she was the prosecution's star witness. She testified for over 4 days, just ended May 16th. She detailed a decades-long relationship marked by physical and sexual abuse, including being forced to participate in drug-fueled freak-off sex parties with male sex workers, which Combs allegedly directed and recorded. Cassie recounted specific violent incidents such as a 2016 hotel assault captured on surveillance video, which we will show you tonight, and alleged that Combs controlled her career, finances, and personal life. The defense tried to challenge her credibility, pointing to inconsistencies in her timeline and suggesting that there was somehow equal level of mutual violence in their relationship. I see no evidence to that, by the way. Don Richard, former member of Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money. Richard testified about witnessing Combs physically assault Ventura Cassie multiple times, including a 2009 incident where he allegedly attacked Ventura with a skillet. The defense questioned her motives, noting her continued professional relationship with Combs and her own civil lawsuit against him. Carrie Morgan, Cassie Ventura's mother, former best friend, on May 19th, so just 2 days ago, testified about witnessing Combs assault Cassie and experiencing an attack herself in 2018, after which she signed a non-disclosure agreement for $30,000. She described Ventura's physical injuries post-assault. David James, so this is Diddy's former personal assistant, testified about Ventura's dependence, so Cassie Ventura, on Combs for her career and lifestyle, recalling a conversation where she expressed feeling trapped. He also described a tense 2008 encounter involving Combs security and rival Suge Knight. Regina Ventura, this is Cassie's mother, testified on May 20th, just yesterday, corroborating her daughter's account of a 2011 assault linked to Combs' jealousy over rapper Kid Cudi, showing jurors a text from Cassie about the incident. Sheree Hayes, a male exotic dancer, testified yesterday about participating in sexual encounters with Ventura and Combs, describing them as distinct from his usual performances and noting Ventura's focus on Combs during these events. Gerard Cannon, a Homeland Security Investigations agent, testified yesterday about the March 2024 raid on Combs' Miami home, where agents found AR rifle components with defaced serial numbers that were presented as evidence to the jury. So the Diddy trial represents far more than just another celebrity scandal. We're witnessing the unmasking of a deeply entrenched system of corruption, exploitation, and moral decay that's been operating within our entertainment industry for decades. As believers and patriots, we must understand that this case exposes the dark reality behind the glittering facade that's been poisoning our culture. For too long, these entertainment elites have been the arbiters of our cultural values, mocking faith, promoting degeneracy, and attacking traditional families. Now we're seeing what lurks behind their self-righteous condemnation of conservative values. The allegations against Combs, from sex trafficking to violent abuse of drug-fueled exploitation, reveal the true character of those who've appointed themselves our moral superiors. This trial matters to us as conservatives and Christians because it exposes the hypocrisy of an industry that has constantly attacked our values while harboring predators in their midst. It reveals why we must be vigilant about the media our families consume and why we must rebuild a culture based on traditional American principles rather than the twisted values of Hollywood elites. The evidence emerging in this trial should serve as a wake-up call to all Americans about who's been shaping our culture, corrupting our youth, and undermining the moral foundations of our society. This is not just about one man's crimes, plural. It's about an entire system designed to promote evil while attacking the good. Randy, I'm going to come to you first, and I want to hear your thoughts from that 30,000-foot view, and then you, Jeff.
Well, I think we touched on it earlier. Really, it's about accountability. Everybody, what's coming out. I know after the first couple of days, they had the star witness on there. She, I don't know if they had anything really illegal, you know what I mean? Because she was complicit in a lot of it. So this is, I think it's going to be a trickier needle to thread than, we hope. But I hope that they hold these people accountable, and we need to expose this stuff because that's what's at the heart of what's going down across the entire country. And of course, everybody watches it. It's the entertainment industry, whether it's our commercials and all the social shaping they put in the dang commercials to shows and movies, right down to the music they're listening to. And, you know, I think about the changes in society and the youth just since rap music it became popular. You know, it changed a lot of stuff. I'm sure rock and roll did back in the day, back in those times as well. But I just think that, you know, the kind of stuff that we're hearing come out of this trial and the rumors ever since he's been arrested that were kind of confirmed, that kind of behavior is, you know, has got to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with. You can't allow that to go on and say, oh, I don't care, and then keep going to their movies and buying their music so that they can keep perpetuating this same behavior. I think accountability is what it comes down to, and we need to make sure that happens.
100%. So Archangel, they were defaced serial numbers on AR-15 lowers, and I'm not sure why Katie's asking about that, but every firearm that is legal in America, the lower receiver has a serial number on it that tracks back to where it was manufactured. You could potentially find out who did the 4473 on it, those sort of things. But these were not defaced serial numbers on air rifles. They were defaced serial numbers on AR-15s. Jeff, your 30,000 foot view.
Well, I think Randy touched on something with the whole Cassie Ventura thing. Is she was complicit in a lot of this. Now she's been saying, well, I really couldn't say no because he had my career in his hands. But at the same time, they introduced stuff where she goes, yeah, I'm up for a freak off tonight. And I was actually listening to a radio show today, and they had Alan Dershowitz on talking about this thing. And they said, what do you think is going to happen? And he goes, I think they'll get a conviction, but it'll be overturned on appeal because they did the whole thing with Cassie Ventura, and they showed the video of him beating her up in the hallway and all that stuff. And they said, that is not what this case is about. That case was like 10 years ago. Statute of limitation is expired. They basically tainted the jury. And so any attorney worth spit will be able to say, we couldn't get a fair trial because they started by bringing up stuff that was totally irrelevant to what my client was being charged for. That'd be like, I'm on trial for bank robbery, and they bring in the fact that maybe I beat up my wife and I abandoned my kids. Okay, I may have done that, and they may make me an asshole, but it has absolutely nothing to do with robbing a bank. And I think that's kind of the point here. He's saying, yeah, Diddy is a horrible person. Don't get me wrong. He is just a disgusting human being. But being a disgusting human being in and of itself is not a crime. If it were, everyone in Washington would be in jail. So, yeah, if you're going to charge a guy, stick to what you're charging him with. Don't go off on tangents, because all you're going to do is give the guy a real good reason to appeal and a real good reason for some panel of judges to say, yeah, he's got a point. Justice is supposed to be blind. You got to try it on the merits of what he's being charged with, not what he did 10 years before. So I think they kind of screwed up with that.
I don't know. I mean, I think they're trying to establish a pattern of behavior so that there's
but they better, because here's reality. You know what I mean? I've been wondering this whole time why he hadn't suicided himself yet. Somebody must figure he's got a shot at getting off, or at least not exposing the whole thing. Because as we all know, if this thing was to expose what he was really dealing in, there's a lot of folks that would be in trouble, and they don't want that.
The FBI just thinks they got all the videotapes.
Maybe. Yeah.
He had some stashed away with some attorney somewhere. If upon my death, release all this stuff on the internet.
Something.
Yeah.
Dead man switch.
Yes,
so
exactly.
This next post, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is actually very, very interesting. And if you want to go to MJ Truth Ultra on X, you can read this. And again, it's long. I'm going to summarize it for you in a second. I'm going to play a small portion of this video, which is over 8 minutes long. But this is pretty damning. So Cassie Ventura confirmed Jonathan Audie's involvement. According to court testimony, Cassie Ventura confirmed Jonathan Audie's involvement in Diddy's notorious freak-off parties, identifying him as a male escort who participated in these drug-fueled sexual encounters. This testimony corroborates earlier allegations with regards to the extensive network of individuals involved in these exploitive events. Audie claimed that the CIA had him target Trump. He alleged that a bunch of other rat people were organizing this so-called hip-hop agenda. I'm trying to think of the right word. They use NWO in here, New World Order. I don't know if that's the right word or not. He claimed that he was hooked into Osama bin Laden. He suggested Michael Jackson was overdosed and killed. It wasn't a suicide because he wasn't playing with all these guys. This guy's a really, really bad actor. And it's crazy that Casey Ventura would tie him to Diddy firsthand. I'm going to play just a bit of this.
They like the CIA, and then they want to do the same thing that they did to JFK. Okay. All right. Why? Because they want the United States to fall. They've already been creating a state of chaos and confusion in the United States. They want the United States to fall. Donald was against their agenda and won the presidency. Okay. The situation is that he still hasn't kicked out the corruption from the system. He's letting them stay due to money, basically. But they all like making money. That's why they're all billionaires, etc. So there's only there's select few of that run the country. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you, I know you may or may not. I know you're gonna believe me. You have what's called the Illuminati. Illuminati.
So I'm going to stop it there. The most explosive thing that he had to say was, this is 2018, this video, by the way. The most explosive thing he had to say is that Diddy hired him as a sex slave. And then he made him have sex with all these other people, these freak offs that he then videotaped. Many of the people were knocked out with, the date rape, drug, that sort of thing, only to wake up discovering that they'd been assaulted. And he was one of the ones doing both the assaulting and I guess the other end of the not assaulting, whatever you want to call it. But Randy, I'll pass this over to you. I mean, this guy's pretty deep talking Illuminati stuff.
Well, I go back to one of the other panels we did before, where you had a guest on that was talking about the sex trafficking and human trafficking that we got going on in this country. That's an industrial size level. This guy would be part of it. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of folks like this guy right here that are going to help perpetuate it. I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen him. I don't know what kind of credibility he has, but I do know that P. Diddy didn't do this all by himself. You know what I mean? He probably tapped into something. You mentioned Suge Knight a little bit ago. Everybody knows what a bad guy Suge Knight was and the kind of stuff he was involved in. And then we're talking about decades. So Diddy didn't make up this system. He just came in and helped take over and kind of lead it, to where it is today. I have no doubt that, there are wealthy individuals that help make this go on. And
so you said the magic word there, credibility, right? So I don't think anybody gave this guy a whole lot of credibility in 2018, right? Yeah. But Cassie Ventura, her testimony backs up a bunch of stuff that he was saying as far as the sex, the freak offs and stuff was concerned. So now people are saying, well, wait a minute. He was probably telling the truth as far as Diddy and these, freak off sexual escapades. Maybe he was telling the truth on some of these other subjects. Jeff, as a former CIA operative, a field manager, I'm dying to hear your thoughts as to whether or not this is even in the realm of possibility. Not the Diddy sex stuff, but the other stuff, the NWO, the Illuminati, etc. You're on mute, Jeff.
Yeah, it's theoretically possible. Don't get me wrong, but my bullshit meter starts to ping when people mention 3 or 4 large-scale conspiracy theories in one sentence. When you go from the New World Order to JFK assassination to the Illuminati, which have been the target of conspiracy theories since the Middle Ages, for Christ's sakes. I'm waiting for him to throw in the Knights Templar and Freemasons. But it's like, okay, you're starting to lose me here. If it's one of those things. If you throw everything out there, and I know half of it's bullshit, it kind of really makes me question the other half.
Yeah.
So yeah, when someone starts using the Illuminati and the New World Order, and they're going to JFK him, it's like, I don't think Diddy has anything to do with JFK.
Right.
I mean, hell, I was 2 when he was assassinated, and I'm old. I'm 10 years older than Diddy. So, yeah, he might be some lunatic fringe guy, but I would not count him as a credible source. Could he be right? Yeah, sure, absolutely, he could be right.
I was going to say, it's Randy pointed it out right away. Credibility.
Yeah,
a lot of the stuff that he had to say.
I'm sorry. Look at this guy. Is this someone you would want to invite to a freak off?
Well, I was thinking, he's not a very handsome fellow to be a male prostitute.
He looks like George Costanza with a 5-day beard. Okay, right. Sorry, not someone I see at a freak off party with all these hot dancers and all this kind of crap. No,
yeah. He looked like he had a hairy back.
Yeah, he looked more like. Of course, he does kind of look like Ron Jeremy. So
yeah, he did, didn't he?
That is too. Oh God.
But Cassie Ventura is a good-looking girl. I would not waste her on him.
No. I went to high school with a guy who's extremely wealthy, and he has a home in LA. He's got a huge mansion in Mexico, and Ron Jeremy was his neighbor on one side, and Robbie Krieger, the drummer from the Doors, was his neighbor on the other side. And he said that Ron Jeremy would come to parties, and the stench coming off him was just awful. He was just such a complete slob, and people literally wanted less than nothing to do with the guy. It's just crazy of what a small world it is. But moving on here, this is some evidence that was presented by the prosecutors. So they uploaded some of the evidence and photos they've shown to jurors of the various injuries that Cassie Ventura testified she suffered at the hands of her then boyfriend, Sean Diddy Combs. These 2 pictures show gashes above her one eye. More graphic images show bruises all over her back, legs, and swollen lips. So, I mean, the physical evidence here is a pretty good reminder, kind of the severity of this whole case. I call it the cost of moral corruption, I guess, for lack of a better term, in Hollywood. And it seems to me that she was a prisoner of his, but Diddy's defense is trying to say that everything was mutually agreed upon between these 2 parties. And they released some evidence to that effect, which I haven't been able to find. All I've heard is reference to it. 10 years is a long time to stay in a relationship where you're getting the crap beat out of you like this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Randy? Like, do you think that she was somehow complicit potentially to stay 10 years, or did she have Stockholm syndrome?
We're not psychologists, so it's kind of hard to figure that out. But just going historically, women do fall into this category in some instances. But I think with some of the stuff she said in court, she's basically admitted that she was complicit with a lot of it. So it's gonna be a hard case to prove that. What I really think is, it's not just this case, because guaranteed with those Epstein files and what Diddy had going on, those things overlap. You guarantee there's an overlap there where they could prove more of this, which way this falls or the other. I think that the more this goes on, it looks more like a show, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how it pans out in the end.
Yeah, fair enough.
A show trial, they're going to put him on trial. But as Jeff alluded to, man, if it gets off later, even if they convict him and then they overturn it, what good was it?
Yeah, his life is pretty much over, but he should go to jail for what he did to her, but he should have gone to jail for doing it for 10 freaking years ago when he did it instead of they swept it under the rug for a decade. She got a payout to be quiet, and now they're using it and say, yeah, he's an ass. He is a scumbag of the first order.
Absolutely.
But oh my God, do it, charge him when it happens. Don't wait 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, because what's the statute of limitations on that time?
Oh, it's already run on this one. That's
it would have to. Yeah, because even rape is like 7 years, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, they have this one on video. It would be a slam dunk, except the statute of limitations.
Yeah.
we've actually got something queued up, I think, towards the end of the podcast tonight from his head of security / bodyguard, who just says, like, flat out, without mincing his words, that Sean Diddy Combs is the most evil person he's ever met in his life, and that he's on the level of being a demon, essentially. So Lord only knows what that guy witnessed.
I have no doubt that it's possible that he, had her in submission for 10 years. I don't think that's not out of the realm of possibility, but I don't think she did him any good I'm talking about the state or the government. She didn't do them any good on the stand, really.
Well, when I was in Texas, I met this guy who was a former hip hop producer, and he said it is, and he's now Christian and everything. He's trying to promote the good in music, but he goes, the whole hip hop industry says it is the most evil group of people you can frickin' imagine. The industry people, the big artists, they just screw everybody over. They're in it for the money, and they don't care who gets hurt. He says, but they are just some of the most evil MFers on the planet.
Oh, that's
when you talked about Michael Jackson a while ago, I saw a headline in the last couple of days where, because Diddy's involved with this as well, that's possible, that Whitney Houston became worth more dead than alive to the music industry, and they helped her drown in that bathtub.
Cindy pulled something up on YouTube on that last night, and it's hard to say just how far this entire debacle spans. But next one up, Diddy continues to argue his innocence while several women take the stand arguing his guilt. Dawn Richard, a woman who says she saw him beating Cassie before being told not to speak up. His lawyers say this proves a history of domestic violence and not the federal charges brought against him. So they're actually saying it's a good thing that he beat her up because it was domestic violence and not federal charges that have been laid against him. That, get your head wrapped around that, but 44 seconds.
In week 2 of the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial, prosecutors now trying to prove the disgraced rapper used his status and a pattern of violence and threats to control and abuse women for nearly 2 decades. On Monday, singer Dawn Richard told jurors Combs had threatened to kill her after she witnessed him beating his longtime girlfriend, Cassie. Richard says Combs told her and another woman they would go missing if they told anyone about that attack. However, defense lawyers argue the evidence and testimonies only display a history of domestic violence, not the federal crimes Combs is charged with. Diddy has pleaded not guilty to the sex trafficking and racketeering charges brought against him. If he's convicted, he faces up to life in prison.
So I'm guessing that his attorneys are saying that it was domestic violence because the statute of limitations that both of you brought up. That's just my best guess. But Randy, you want to take a swing at this?
Well, I just hope it doesn't turn out to be like the OJ trial, right?
Oh,
and I hope it doesn't turn out to be that way, because we already know this guy, as devious as he is, was a very intelligent man. That he doesn't have one iota of anything in his name. So as Jeff mentioned, his life is over now, but he's still going to have more money than he knows what to do with, because it's not going to cost him $1 billion to defend himself on this trial. It may cost him tens of millions, maybe even 100 million, but it's not going to cost him $1 billion. And, I don't know. I don't like it.
Jeff?
No, I mean, this is the guy who definitely should be in prison. He's a scumbag of the first order. But I think Randy's right. If they don't convict him, all you got to do is have one juror willing to not convict, or they do convict him and he wins on appeal, and then the state chooses not to re-prosecute because it's costing the state, millions of dollars to prosecute him as well. That maybe his business life will be over, but he'll still be living fat and happy. And there'll be more than enough stupid people who want to hang out with him and say, hey, I hang out with Diddy. I mean, there were people who would play golf with O.J. Simpson.
He'll become the Teflon Don of the hip hop world.
Yeah. Well, he is, and Chris and I talked about it before, he is the West Coast Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
He is to the music industry what
Absolutely.
Jeffrey Epstein was to Wall Street.
Yeah. And political
Epstein got in trouble for trafficking in kids and shit, and he still had people who would hop on his plane and fly to the Virgin Islands with him.
Yeah, exactly. So 2 days ago, Carrie Morgan's chilling testimony recounted a 2009 Jamaica vacation where she heard Cassie Ventura's guttural, terrifying screams as Combs allegedly dragged her by her hair from a bedroom, pushed her to the ground, and left her motionless as Cassie fled. A frantic golf cart chase ensued. So I don't know if there's much to comment on this one. It's just another case of abuse. Yeah. But the next one, this has got some fire behind it here. So Barack Obama was mentioned yesterday in Diddy's trial, further implicating him in Pizzagate. And anybody knows anything about Pizzagate? Pizza is code word for underage children that are being sexually trafficked. So Diddy's former assistant, David James, revealed that Combs regularly consumed ecstasy pills shaped like former President Barack Obama's face. And while this doesn't directly implicate Obama in any wrongdoing, some commentators have attempted to draw connections to broader conspiracy theories, highlighting the celebrity/political connections that existed in Diddy's world. There's all kinds of reports. So let me just rip off a few of them. WikiLeaks exposed that Obama flew in $65,000 worth of pizza and hot dogs, confirmed pedophile code words from Chicago for a private White House party using clandestine channels on the taxpayers' dime. There's more to it than that. Obama also had his secret Alice in Wonderland party at the White House during a recession. Alice in Wonderland is symbolic to the satanic pedophile cabal. Jeffrey Epstein and Hillary Clinton are implicated in some of that stuff. The suspicious death, potentially murder of Obama's longtime chef, which we all know about. Chrissy Teigen, best known for tweeting about pedophilia, flaunting pedophilia symbolism, including pizza and other FBI-identified pedo symbols. And it goes on and on and on. This starts to get a little bit juicy now. There was a close relationship between them. You're known by the company that you keep. Does it surprise you at all, Randy, that the president of the United States would be associated with this?
Honestly, yes. I guess that would be another first that he would have, that presidents haven't, or at least been caught at doing, right? I think about the office of the president, is the office of the people, and what that represents, and what type of leadership and what example you should be setting. And then to hear stuff like this, well, it just kind of goes in line with a lot of stuff we heard about Obama to begin with. You know what I mean? And if you're down there flocking with the criminals, you must be one yourself.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
That's right. That's right.
Jeff, your thoughts? I think you're on mute, Jeff.
The fact that he'd be hanging out with people like this doesn't surprise me, because Obama is very much into the whole Hollywood celebrity scene more than probably any president we've had. Brief exception maybe being Clinton, but Clinton didn't really hobnob with the celebrity types. Yeah, they would go to fundraisers and they'd cut checks, but he didn't really hang with them. But Obama does, and I think he likes that image of being the cool, hip, young black president. And if you're going to be the young, hip, cool black president, you got to hang out with other young, cool, hip people, which are, and you want your street cred, because he acts like he's street cred, but he's not. He grew up in Hawaii, for Christ's sakes. Yeah. Raised by white people. So I think he uses that to just bolster his image. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
Fair enough. This next one is from Vigilant Fox, who so far nobody's doxed to this person, so we don't know exactly who it is, but they went from 0 to darn near a couple million subscribers on X in the blink of an eye. So, and it's not the lady who's speaking here. She just reads the reports from whoever the actual Vigilant Fox is. But in a surprising development at the Diddy trial, former personal assistant David James testified that Combs regularly consumed drugs daily, including ecstasy pills bearing former President Obama's face. Testimony has sparked a discussion about Diddy's extensive drug use and his connections to political figures. So I've got this video queued up partway through. I'm just going to play a section of it, and then I'll get y'all's feedback.
/polls today. A very interesting development has just occurred in the Diddy trial, and the media is completely omitting this crucial detail. Look at the headlines, and you'll find them all reporting that Diddy's ex-assistant, David James, testified that Diddy took Obama-shaped ecstasy pills, but they're not reporting that James reportedly said that Diddy met with former presidents, and when asked which ones, James said President Obama. This in from Matthew Russell Lee at Inner City Press, who's been publishing the court transcript. Assistant United States Attorney, shortened to AUSA, asks James, did you ever pick up drugs for Mr. Combs? James, yes, Percocets at a pharmacy, sometimes in my name. AUSA, did you give him permission to use your name? James, I don't recall that. AUSA, was there a drug dealer? James, yes, one stop. AUSA Slavic, he met with a lot of people. James, yes, even former presidents. AUSA asks, which one? And James says, former President Obama. AUSA, what was your understanding would have happened if you hadn't done these things? Combs, agnifilio, objection, sustained. Shouldn't really come as a surprise to anyone that Obama's name is coming up in this trial, not only as someone Diddy met with, perhaps regularly, but someone that his ecstasy pills of choice were shaped after. What's no secret to anyone is Diddy's affiliation to many celebrities and politicians in the past, including Hillary Clinton and Obama, when they appeared to get on very friendly and jovial during an interview where Diddy launched the Vote or Die campaign in 2004 to encourage young people to vote, and he collaborated with Hillary Clinton on this initiative. But on the topic of Obama, who remembers this wild interview with Tucker Carlson and Larry Sinclair, where Sinclair alleges he smoked crack and had sex with Obama in 1999?
You're just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party.
Yeah, pulled up in a bar outside, and there's this guy that's introduced to me as Barack Obama. I had given Barack $250 to pay for coke. I start putting a line on a CD tray to snort, and next thing I know, he's got a little pipe and he's smoking. So I just started rubbing my hand along his thigh to see where it was going, and it went the direction I had intended it to go.
Even though you had sex with him twice, you did cocaine with him, watched him smoke crack twice, you had no idea who he was.
I had no idea who he was.
Let me just ask the obvious question. What was Obama like on crack? Is it your sense that that's who Obama is, just transactional, or that he's bisexual, or like, what is this?
It definitely wasn't Barack's first time, and I would almost be willing to bet you it wasn't his last.
The guy's running for pred.
So that goes a little bit off topic, but I think we've discussed Obama enough. So let's move on to Regina Ventura. She testified she took out a home equity loan to pay Diddy $20,000, which he allegedly demanded in exchange for a sex tape of her daughter, Cassie. Later, she testified that she wired the money to Diddy and it was returned to her account within 4 or 5 days. What a strange, evil thing to do, right? To threaten somebody's mother to either put a second mortgage on your house to send me money, or I'm going to release these tapes of your daughter. I don't know. Do either one of you want to take a swing at that? I don't know if there's much to say on it.
Is that why we signed the executive order?
I have one question. Maybe she got a very good interest rate by claiming that it was her second home was her primary residence, just like Letitia James. Right. So she wasn't damaged as much as we think.
I don't know. That's pretty crazy stuff. And speaking of crazy stuff, we're getting towards the end, but this one's pretty crazy. So Diddy's Dark World exposed. Dancer The Punisher testifies about Cassie freak-offs. In explosive courtroom testimony, male dancer Sheree The Punisher Hayes says Sean Diddy Combs hired him for up to 12 sex parties with Cassie Ventura, allegedly directing the acts like a film set. Hayes described Diddy's dominating presence, bizarre rituals, and sexual pressure so intense he couldn't perform. Federal agents revealed photos of lube, lingerie, and an AR-15 rifle parts from Diddy's mansion. Meanwhile, Cassie's mother said Diddy threatened to release sex tape unless she paid the $20,000, blah, 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 blah. Diddy denies all charges. There's an interview with this guy after he gave his testimony, and it's hard to, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. It's hard to digest the stuff that he said transpired. It's pretty off the wall, crazy stuff. Randy, do you want to comment on this one?
Well, I'll say, you know, it goes back to the guy we watched earlier, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, these are the kind of people that it ends up being on. How do you know what's the truth and what isn't? You know what I mean? I have no doubt, though. I mean, I don't doubt everything we've heard about him and how bad of a person and how evil he is. I do not doubt that one bit.
Likewise. Jeff?
It's par for the course for this clown. It's what are you gonna do? I mean, yeah, I believe it.
All right. So next one up, this is, I briefly mentioned earlier. So this guy was Sean Diddy's personal bodyguard and head of security. And he basically says here that Diddy is a demon. There's more to it than that. 1 minute, 26 seconds. I'm going to play the whole video.
Dude is a demon, bro. Dude is a demon. That dude was possessed with some kind of demon, man. He's possessed with some kind of demon. Want to be in all this red, this dark rooms with the music blasting. It had to be a certain temperature. You know, a certain type of music for the vibration they were saying. Come on, bro. And I don't care what nobody say, man. And like when people still talk and keep on talking, if that priest ever come out and he talking, if people keep talking, you'll find out that a lot of that Gene Deal has said has been the truth and nothing but the truth. I was there. I was there when that priest or whoever he was rubbed that stuff on his head, put his hand on top of him, told him to grab the bird out the cage, the white dove, and he threw the dove in the air, and the dove acted like he ain't have no wings and hit the fucking ground. Boom! That motherfucker started walking my way. I'm looking like this, bro. I'm like.
So his name is Gene Deal, by the way. So when he says Gene Deal, that he's referring to himself in the third person. Randy, I got a question for both you and Jeff. So that guy was his head of security for many, many years. You heard him say, I was there. What do you think of somebody like that being around this and not saying anything? That's like being complicit in my mind.
Oh, well, it is to some degree, for sure. You know what I mean? I agree with that. But I'd also lend this guy more credibility. He was on a security team. He saw it all. Had to have.
Yeah, it's crazy, Jeff.
What is the Secret Service seen that they've never told anybody about? You know, with JFK, they bring in girls to the White House whenever Jackie was out of town and all sorts of nonsense. You know, a lot of these guys go, that's not my job. My job is, in that case, protect the president. In his case, it's probably my job is to provide security. I'm not here to pass judgment.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something in my gut tells me I would have a hard time witnessing that without telling somebody, because I kind of
would never hire you.
Well, I'd rather be in that situation than to have blood on my hands. But anyway, each to their own. But
you don't hire a Boy Scout to drive the getaway car,
right? So fair enough. Right. And who knows? We may never know the entire story, but. Pardon me. That's it for the coverage on Diddy. But, you know, as we conclude our coverage today, let's take a minute here just to reflect on what this means for us as conservative American Christians and patriots. I think this case reveals there's very deep moral corruption at the heart of our entertainment industry. And this is the same industry that constantly lectures us about values while they're harboring all these predators like Diddy in their midst. Like, he might be the worst predator of all time in Hollywood, but there's plenty of predators. Harvey Weinstein would be another example, right? So, you know, the testimony that we reviewed this evening really demonstrates in my mind how power, money, and influence have been weaponized to exploit the vulnerable and silence victims. Jeff, we've talked about this in the past, where there's been this pattern of somebody gets elected to Congress, They go to DC. They don't have an apartment or a home there yet because they're fresh to Congress. And the powers that be do their research and find out that this person has some proclivity for some thing, young boys, whatever the case may be. And next thing you know, they're in their hotel room and they've been drugged and they're doing the thing that they, have an interest in.
Yeah.
And then a couple months later, somebody shows up and says, okay, you're going to vote this way in this bill. And they're like, I'm not going to vote that way. And they're like, you see this evidence? Yes, you are. We're going to release it. I mean, this stuff is deep.
That's a Soviet tactic from the old days. With the joke used to be, you'd be in a hotel in the Soviet Union, there'd be a knock at your door, and you open the door, and there's a beautiful woman there. If you turn her away, 5 minutes later, there'll be a knock at your door, and there'll be a handsome young man. If you turn him away, 5 minutes later, there'll be a knock at the door, and there'll be a goat.
Oh my God.
It's like they'll just keep going until they find whatever you're interested in.
That is just too much. But I think there is a bit of a silver lining to this. Just a second. Randy, I'm just going to mute you for a second because I'm getting feedback from your mic. Anyway, I think that the silver lining to this is that we're at some sort of turning point is my best, estimation, like a moment when all the facades are crumbling, truth is emerging, and, whatever is hidden will be revealed. It's even Luke 12:2 says that, but I think we're finally seeing some of this stuff come to fruition. So I've got a few key takeaways from today's coverage. And then my last question to both of you is what takeaways you may have. So I think first and foremost is that everybody needs to be extraordinarily vigilant, about the media that you allow into your home, that you allow people in your family to consume, because the people producing this content, they live by very different values than the rest of us. And, I've been saying for many, many years, you've got, whether you call it hip hop, rap, whatever it is, this is music that celebrates violence against women, violence against cops, doing drugs, dealing drugs. And there are consequences to that. Second, I would say support alternative media like Survival Dispatch News and entertainment sources that are in line with your own personal values. And your dollars matter. I think Randy's mentioned it previously in the past, much like myself. I don't watch anything with Richard De Niro in it. I don't care if it was a good movie in the past or not. I refuse to watch that crap. Third, teach your children about discernment and critical thinking when it comes to celebrity culture. Help them understand that just because these people are famous doesn't mean that they're virtuous. Fourth, there's a lot of victims involved in this case and other cases like this. And many of them have suffered in silence for years. And healing requires, I think, a combination of justice and compassion. And finally, recognize this trial is the tip of the iceberg. The call it systems that enabled these alleged crimes, which looks like they were absolutely not just alleged. They're still intact. And meaningful change is going to require some element of pressure to bring down these systems that have been built that facilitate all this. Anything you can think of that our audience can take away as far as learning from this video and initiatives they can undertake?
I think you mentioned most of them. Really, it's just finding out who people are, and then and acting accordingly, because you look at what this trial, like you said, is bringing out. And then we look at not just the people that are in this trial, but you go back to what we saw, what happened to Justin Bieber with his behavior. Now we know why that these folks did this. So I have no doubt this kind of stuff happened, but I do the same thing. It goes to even movies, though. It might even be TV period, because even when you sculpt all this stuff out, like, I have several actors, as you just mentioned, and musical artists that I won't listen to or entertain their products anymore of any kind because they're pedophiles or whatever have you. But it's so different. The commercials are the same. There's all kind of social shaping in the commercials and everything else. You might have to eliminate TV, but I think the list that you put out is about as good as you just have to do your own research. You know what I mean? And if you're not proactive in your kid's life and what's being put into their brain, then, you know, the world's going to do, and people like P. Diddy are going to do that for you.
Yeah, that's really well said, Randy. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, just don't look to Hollywood and the music industry or sports for that matter to find your heroes, to find your role models. An actor is an actor. He is hired or she is hired to pretend to be somebody else. Don't go beyond that, and don't attribute to them the character traits of the people they portray. They may portray an evil person in a movie, and they might be the nicest person in real life, or vice versa. So let's, find your heroes at home. Don't find them on the TV screen.
That's well said. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. All right, let's see. So I would encourage all of you to continue this conversation on our Substack, and our Signal chat. So if you're a Guardian, one of the value adds you get is you get an invite to our extremely busy Signal chat. We've seen days where there've been over 3,000 messages in there, but a great exchange of information and intel. And I can't believe the way the Signal chat took off. I know I've said that before. It's pretty crazy, but this is really why we created the Guardian program, to help us dispatch vital information to fellow Americans and friends of America to support our mission to save our republic and our Christian culture. And by becoming a Guardian, you're not just accessing premium content, you're joining a movement of patriots and conservatives committed to preserving the values that made America great. Speaking of which, we have a promo that's ending this Friday, and I'll send the URL out to everybody right now in the chat. But you can get a discount, $7.99 a month instead of $9.99, or $74.99 a year instead of $95 a year. Get 2.5 free months that way. Gets you your Guardian membership, gets you $370 worth of our SDI, Survival Dispatch Insider, e-magazines, and you get a bunch of other value adds as well, which I won't waste time repeating. You can just go to our Substack and find it all right there. And I'm going to send this link out to y'all right now for those of you who are interested in taking advantage. It's a 30-day membership too, by the way, for free. So you got a chance to try before you buy, so to speak. Want to give a special shout out to Dale. The guy is an absolute machine. The volume of information he puts in the Signal chat's incredible. And I can't thank Dale enough for being part of our community. So he had the best news story yesterday. 173 countries just voted to give these two globalists, this is crazy, man, their control over their sovereign decision-making processes regarding health. Get ready for lots and lots of vaccines. Thank God we pulled out of WHO. There was already writing on the wall before Trump won that if we stayed in the World Health Organization, that we were going to abdicate power to them over things like responses to pandemics. So they'd basically be able to say, okay, well, you lock down your entire country, and the government would have done that. But 173 countries have agreed to do this. They're going to cede control to these clowns. Either one of you are welcome to comment on that if you want. I think it's just insanity.
These guys are evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look at the video that's come out lately, the Bill Gates, try to get off there of him talking about, there's 6.9 are going to go to 9 billion people on the planet, and we can curb that with vaccines and medical mandates and some other stuff. And I'm like, you know what he's telling you right there. So to give this guy control is crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is. Absolutely. And I know Jeff's not a big fan of Bill Gates either, or Tedros. So we don't have to beat that dead horse. Looking forward to tomorrow. We're going to be joined by retired Navy SEAL Robert Sweetman. We've had him on before. He's friends with Pete Hegseth to discuss a number of important topics, but we're going to have a special focus on the research that he's been doing and the treatments that he has for achieving better sleep. My wife tracks all of her sleep, and it's been quite an eye-opener as far as what the result of getting good sleep versus not getting good sleep is. I want to express my deepest gratitude to all of you, especially our subscribers, our Guardians. Without your support, we couldn't afford to dedicate countless hours to bringing you truthful news that the mainstream media either distorts or ignores completely. John and I in particular, I kid you not, it's 16, 17 hours a day. Now, some of his day, of course, is spent being a father and a husband, and he's an engineer. Plus, he's got righteous savages. The guy's the absolute machine. But all 19 people who commit or work in some fashion on survival dispatch work a lot of hours, and I appreciate it. Again, without your support, we couldn't do that. And, there's a famous quote, Jeff, remind me who this is. In times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. Who said that?
I can't even remember. I've heard it before, but I don't know who said it.
I didn't make a note of it in the dang brief. I can't remember. Randy, do you know who said that?
No, I have heard it too, but I don't know.
Well,
Okay.
wouldn't claim it. I say you said it, man. Yeah. It's Chris.
Okay, here's the deal. You all have a very short window here to put the answer to that in the live chat on whichever platform you're watching us on. And everybody who gets it in there, I'm going to send you a link for a free lifetime subscription for the Guardian program. And again, we'll be back at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. I want to share one last thing. So this is Randy and I. This is over 7 years ago now. Back home in Dallas at the NRA annual meeting. This is terrible. I can't remember the lady's name between us there, Randy. But
she was a state representative, wasn't she? I think so.
She's the one who wrote Newt Gingrich's contract with America and essentially got him control of the House. And I feel terrible. I can't remember her name, but she was an absolute pistol. In that picture, by the way, she was 82 years old in that picture, which is unbelievable. But yeah, great person. So anyway, we'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time as per usual. Between now and then, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Enjoy our closing video. Hold on. And God bless America.
God bless.